It's 2024 and the next installment of Microsoft Flight Simulator is due to release this year. In this video, we're going to take a look at why Microsoft decided to release a whole new rendition of the sim, what we know about the sim so far, and when we expect it to release. There's lots to talk about this new flight simulator, so let's jump into the video. Microsoft rejuvenated its flight sim franchise in 2020 with its next generation flight sim release. This was the first edition of flight sim we have seen since its predecessor, Flight Simulator X, or otherwise known as FSX, which was released all the way back in 2006. It's almost been 16 years between these two types of generation of flight sims. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was largely a jump in technology from its previous sim, which is to be expected with a large gap that the time has passed between the two versions. The new franchise offered a whole new look and performance with detailed flight mechanics using with a modified version of the flight sim's new and old code. 2020 was the most successful version of Flight Sim so far, and Microsoft mentioned before the relaunch of the franchise they will be around to support the platform for at least 10 years. Many simmers thought that they would be supporting the 2020 platform throughout that time, and the Microsoft team just did that as they plan to upgrade the sim with monthly world updates or sim updates. And in the first 3 years of the sim, we've had over 40 updates from the Microsoft team for the 2020 platform. The Microsoft team has been pretty transparent through the whole development of the sim and providing a feedback with updated wish lists where simmers can vote on what features they would like to see implemented into the sim in the future, and largely tried to provide that as best they could. But that's where the writing was clearly on the wall for the internal development perspective from the Microsoft team. Microsoft knew if they wanted to add all these features that the community was looking for to improve the sim to be more lifelike, realistic, and feature-rich for all the simmers, the current platform as we know it today was not capable of doing so. Also, the sim was growing bigger and bigger in size, and the Microsoft team mentioned that they underestimated the amount of third-party developer products coming online, with the third-party developers pushing more and more out of the sim for their very high detail products. It was clearly easy to see that Microsoft needed a new version of the flight sim to take the franchise to the mid-season and beyond of the 10 years that they promised support of the franchise. This then brought the announcement of an all-new generation of flight sim, which is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. We have very limited knowledge on what Microsoft plans to bring to the sim in detail. And if the release is anything like the 2020 sim, the team will be working pretty hard to bring more features online after the initial release down the line. That being said, with the initial release, Microsoft plans to bring updates to the core sim, improving its multi-threading capability to bring improved performance to the sim. This is something that has never been achieved properly with the franchise since multi-threading CPUs were a thing. This alone will dramatically improve the sim's capability over the 2020 edition. With the very slow downloads and load installation speeds, Microsoft is planning to host more of the sim in the cloud. 2020 is now over 180 gigs in size, including extreme loading times. If you have a large community folder or official folder, it takes a long time to get the sim going. As well as they plan to improve the aerodynamics and the physics simulations of the sim to bring the core sim to a more realistic level, including ground and flying mechanics. More detailed default aircraft to be in place with the release, which will have more detailed systems including electrical, pneumatic, fuel, and hydraulics. Wear and tear systems are going to be implemented into the core sim, as well as an improved failure system to excite things up and also bring some life to the aircraft. Basically, the team is looking at improving all their areas of flight, including aircraft systems and dev tools, as well as bringing aircraft to life with a wear and tear and failure systems. More detailed, wider avionics systems will be implemented with cockpit tablets for all the default aircraft. This is obviously going to be work done by the working title team, or they're going to have a bit to play with this one, and we've seen how they've done well with updating the 747 and also the 787 for the current sim. The current Flight Sim 2020 was the first simulator to offer flying VFR without adding any software with this new simulator. The Microsoft team plans to improve its digital twin of the world and increase the fidelity of what we know at the moment. The static world will offer improved ground detail with 3D tessellated ground materials with enhanced 3D trees with great increased diversity of fauna and flora. That being said, Microsoft team did dabble this when it comes to the 2020 sim, but with 2024 they're planning to bring the sim to life with more moving objects such as more animals with herds and migrations, worldwide live ship traffic, accurate live air traffic, and improved vehicle traffic. With the current sim, we've seen many third-party add-ons bring some of this tech to the 2020 sim, but it looks like Microsoft is trying to achieve this all as a default level when it comes to Flight Simulator 2024. The team also plans to have at the core sim an improvement of the dynamic world, adding seasons, which is one of the reasons why the team are switching to 3D trees, dynamic storms, and also tornadoes, as well as sky environment, such as both of the auroras when it comes to the north and the south of the globe. There is a bunch of other features that the team is planning on bringing with the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 release, but the ones we have mentioned here are just going to be a part of the core sim. Before we move on and take a look at the new sim and when it will be released, consider subscribing as we plan to follow and bring you all the important updates of the development to the release of 2024. And we are also on the road to hit 100,000 subscribers, so please consider subscribing. We would love to have you on board before we hit that milestone. Thank you very much for your support. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was released back on August the 18th, 2020. The release date has not been yet confirmed other than a 2024 target for the new sim. That being said, we can assume a pretty good educated guess on when we think the sim is going to release. We are now close to the end of January and nothing yet has been mentioned, so considering that, I think a January or a February release is completely off the cards. We have 2 sim updates left for the 2020 sim that haven't been announced thus far. The Microsoft team did mention that there will be an update for the 2020 sim closer to release of the new 2024 sim to bring the compatibility of this old generation up to date to work with 2020-24. We generally see 6 to 8 weeks of flighting time for each sim update from the announcement of the beta invites. Also, the Microsoft team pushed back the DLC for the June movie because the movie had been delayed, and it's now scheduled to release on the 14th of March, which the DLC has been developed for the current 2020 sim. Taking all this information into consideration, it would be easy to consider a sim update to land on either side of the June DLC release, which would place a release at the latest to June onwards this year. I predict that we will see another sim update announced to bring the sim compatibility close to the 2024 sim. Most of the Flight Sim releases of the franchise have been towards the end of the year, so I'm taking an educated guess and I think we will see the release of this new generation of sim around about the same time as what we saw the 2020 release, which is mid to late August. Till now, the Microsoft team have really only announced the core pillars of the new sim, and we really don't know too many other details other than that. That being said, the team have plenty of time to build the hype when it comes to development updates, teaser trailers, and also feature discovery series that they run with the 2020 campaign. We will certainly be following the developments in great detail and providing all the important updates and information about the project. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date and don't want to miss out any of the 2024 updates until release. We also look forward to providing you more Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 future videos here soon on the channel, and we look forward to seeing you in another Flight Sim video very soon.